Hello friends, my name is Xavier and I'm back for a new tasting. Today we are going to taste a very special beer for us, which is 1906 Reserva Especial. We brewed a family of 3 different 1906, all of them bock style beers, and today's is the first one, and it is a Hell's bock, which means pale bock style beer. If you still have it in your fridge, please take it out. It's time for it because we don't want it to be too cold in order to taste it better. Yes? Good. "1906 Reserva Especial" is a 6.5 ABV lager beer. First of all, let's check very quick what ingredients we use for brewing this beer. In the first place, fantastic water from A Coruña. Secondly, malts, obviously. We always use 2 malts. Pilsen malt, which is a base malt. You can see the color. It's not roasted at all. It is a base malt, that means it's the malt that gives all the nutrients for the yeasts. And also a chocolate malt, it's called. A roasted malt. It doesn't give so many nutrients, but it gives roastiness. It gives flavor, aroma, color. Okay. What else? We use a little bit of maize in this recipe as well. I said in another tasting that changing or swapping a little bit of the malt with unmalted cereal, maize in our case, takes out part of the complexity or the maltiness in that beer and therefore increases drinkability, easiness to be drunk, improves session character in that beer. Well, we have today a 6.5 ABV beer. I wouldn't say it's a super session lager, but it is not a complex and intense beer either. Many people in Spain drink this beer as their session lager, so a little bit of maize helps and it's a good thing for this recipe. What else? We use hops, of course. In our case, for this beer, we only use one type of hop, Pearl, German Pearl hop, which is described many times as herbal, minty, sometimes slightly flowery, even sometimes slightly spicy, but in any case, its flavor profile is subtle and elegant. Okay? We use it for bittering and we use it for aroma purpose as well, both things. And finally, with all those ingredients, we brew our wort for 1906 Reserva Especial, and that wort has to be fermented by one yeast, our yeast. We only have one yeast strain. Okay. It's our yeast strain, nobody else uses it, therefore it's one of our treasures. Okay. All of our beers are lagers because we only use this yeast strain. It takes a week to transform the sugars, the nutrients in that wort into a beer. It will be a beer, yes, after a week, but it is a green beer. Okay. It needs maturing, it needs lagering. We give an extra 2 weeks, 15 days to mature. So in total, it takes us, for this beer, it takes a whole month from the beginning to the bottle. Okay, it takes a month to brew this beer. If I was in a bar or at home with friends and I was going to serve the whole of the bottle, I would use the proper glass. 1906 Reserva Especial glass, which is a kind of slim chalice goblet. Okay. But today I'm going to use tasting glass, okay? Because I'm not going to serve it all. I'm going to serve more or less 1/3 of the bottle in this glass. I'm going to remind very quick the steps we're going to follow during the tasting. In the first place, we want to get information through our sight, things we see, like the color of the beer, haziness if there is any, color of the foam, consistency of the foam, persistency of the foam, all those informations we get through our eyes. After that, we will be ready to sniff, to get information, to smell things. Try to start from some distance, more or less 10 centimeters. Short sniffs, and then you can get closer. There are things that could be very volatile and come out very quick, and others that will linger for some time. So this is more or less the process. Even if you haven't received enough information, you can put your hands on top, swirl gently, concentrate the aromas, and smell again. After all these steps have been done, then you're ready to sip. And when you sip, remember, one small sip, get all the mouth used to the temperature, carbonation, to the information we have here. And with the second sip, we'll keep the beer in our mouth for 5-10 seconds to get all the tasting buds loaded, all the physical information in our mouth loaded, and get as much information as we can. So let's go for it. Okay, so I'm ready. I've got my opener, I've got my glass, I've got my bottle. It's time to taste. As I said, I'm going to serve a tasting serve. That means I'm going to serve only 1/3, more or less, of the bottle of beer. Always in the same way. This is not our recommended serve for our beers in a bar, for example, but it's a good serve to compare, to get information. Because the first thing we want to check in a tasting is pieces of information coming from what we see. So what we see here is a very white foam, small size of bubbles, not as small as to say creamy, but they're quite small, medium consistency. We can count time it takes to half the size of the foam. That would be the persistency. What else can we see? The color. Let's check if you can see it properly. It is an amber beer. It's not a pale lager anymore. It's an amber lager. Light amber, I would say. It's a light color of amber, but it is an amber lager. Totally transparent, bright, so there's no haziness in it. Almost all of the lagers are like this. Not all of them, but almost always we have to find this kind of transparency in the beers. Good. Second step would be, remember, you need to get information, aroma information. We need to sniff 10 centimeters. Maybe you don't get any information yet, but you can get closer. And we start getting information. If any of you want to concentrate the flavors and aromas, you can put your hand on top, swirl gently, concentrate, and smell. Good. So what we have here is a lager beer, lager fermentation. Lager fermentations don't produce a lot of fermentation flavors. So lagers mainly smell and taste later of primary flavors. That is, flavors related to the ingredients, to the malts and the hops. Not so many fruity or spicy aromas from the fermentation. So what we find here is really that we can get some malty flavors, not low roasted malts, but we can feel some, I would try to find some hooks in my memory, like bread crust, perhaps. Very subtle hints of coffee and dark or burnt caramel in it as well. Very subtle. It's not a dark beer, so we don't get a load of that, but we have that roasted maltiness in it. Remember, we use 2 malts. This roasted malt will give this extra roastiness in this beer. Okay, what else? There's some flowery aromas in it. There's some kind of perfume, some kind of green or herbal perfume in it. That herbality, that flower, white flower aromas come from the pearl hops. Okay, so in general, there's some intensity, but very well balanced. It is not super malty or super hoppy. It's a lager beer, so it's balanced. Next step would be taste. Proper taste, sip it, feel it in our mouth. We'll get information about basic flavors, that is, in beers, mainly sweet, sour, or bitter. It's very difficult to find. You could, but it's very difficult to find saltiness and umami in a beer, not in this one. We won't get a lot of sourness either, but let's taste it. So basic tastes, what else? Mouthfeel sensations, and what else? Again, aromas. Because aromas, we feel aromas when we smell, but sometimes what we call taste is actually aromas that we feel by the retronasal via. Okay, so we smell, that is orthonasal, that's a technical word, but when we bite or eat something, or when we drink a beer, we have that beer in our mouth and we feel all those aromas again by the back door, so to speak. Okay, so very quick. One sip. With the second sip, we'll keep it for 10 seconds, loading our taste buds, and then we can analyze the beer. Okay, basic taste. There's some maltiness, some sweetness there. Not very intense, but we can feel it at the beginning. What happens? After a while, after some seconds, bitterness increases. Somehow takes the protagonism in this film. So, sweetness at the beginning, bitterness increasing as the time passes. Some very slight acidic notes, probably coming from the carbonation, which gives some acidic notes as well. Not very acidic, just a gentle touch. But what the main two things is sweetness at the beginning and bitterness afterwards. What else? Mouthfeel sensations, that is the body. We are not comparing beers today, but has a medium body. That means we can feel it dense in the mouth. We can feel the carbonation. Another mouthfeel sensation is when we have the beer in our mouth or we swallow, we feel a warm feeling, warm mouthfeel. That is mainly alcohol. In this case, with 6.5 ABV, we start feeling some warm mouthfeel, very, very nice. Most of people, like me, we love that feeling. What else? We can have another sip. And evaluate what we call all those other. Again, like the things we could smell, we taste maltiness. Perhaps in my case, maybe some of you taste other things, but everybody's right in a tasting. Okay, but I can taste perhaps the coffee slightly better in the aftertaste, after swallowing, after sipping the beer, than before when I was smelling. Also the bitterness, but with the bitterness, that herbality is in the mouth as well. The length of the bitterness is medium long, I would say. So we have all these sensations in our mouth for quite a long time. So it is a medium intensity lager beer. It's not a super easy to drink session lager. It's got some intensity, some complexity from malt, some complexity from malt and hops, okay? and the 6.5 ABV. So there's quite a few things in it, but still it's very easy to drink. So I would say it's good for session drinking with friends. Yeah, it's very good for that. But also it's perfect to match some foods. It's very good for matching not any food. Food pairing is quite a complex thing sometimes, but this is, if you don't want to get into a lot of thinking, it would be a really good beer for many foods. Not all of them, obviously, but medium intensity plates, medium intensity foods would be perfect. So this is 1906 Reserva Especial, our 6.5% ABV Hell's Export beer. So friends, I hope you enjoy the beer, I hope you enjoy the tasting. I did enjoy a lot. We'll have more tastings in the future, so I don't have to say see you next time. Cheers.